Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the Blue Flame. How are we doing? Welcome to the second half of June. We are moving through some really powerful energies as we prepare for the avalanche of light that will be the first 2 weeks of July. Whew. Already my system can feel this torrent of energy that's been moving through, that's preparing all of the cells and all of the mitochondria and all of the little beings that make up this vessel that my soul is residing within. It's carrying me through this incarnation, lighting up and speeding up and changing. And all of this is preparation. All of this is preparation. We've all been preparing and preparing and preparing ourselves for this new cycle that's opening. And you feel here for a moment. The solstice, the Cancer solstice. And the Cancer new moon a few days later are what we're here to talk about today. Now, I have a video already that is tuning us in to those first 2 weeks of July. I will end cap this video with it, and you'll be able to find a link in the description below as well, because that period is monumental. There is so much moving through that I was actually guided to create the video as we were moving into the month of June so that we would have time to acclimate our systems to what is coming. This Cancer solstice, which is happening on the 20th of June at 7:41 p.m. Pacific time, which means that for many of you watching, this is probably happening in the early part of the 21st of June. And the Cancer new moon, which is happening at 3:31 on the Pacific coast of the United States in this Pacific time zone on Wednesday, the 25th of June, so just a few days later, are really pushing us to open up those channels so that when this torrent, when this avalanche of light comes through over those 2 first weeks in particular of July, we have the space. We have our systems open enough that we can receive them. So let's look at what is going on during this cycle, shall we? The really big pieces that I want to talk about today are 2 YODs. Now, we've talked about YODs quite a bit here at the Blue Flame. It is a sextile between two cosmic bodies pointing in conjunctly at another point, another cosmic body. Okay? We call it the Yod, or the finger of God, or the finger of destiny. And what this indicates, so a sextile is like a little mini trine. It's a little bridge. It helps us get from one place to another. And a way to feel into this is that when something is square, and we're going to talk about some squares because this is a really powerful energy right now too. When something is square, it's been called a tense aspect because you have to move through a right angle. You have to come and be able to see around a corner in order to access it. a sextile occurs directly in between the square. So if there's a point right in between where this square is happening, those 2 points of the square are making a sextile. So here you can see it's something that facilitates growth. It's something that facilitates the capacity to see things in a different way so that you can move through that tense sort of aspect into the gift that exists within it. So when we see the sextile forming and then pointing in conjunctly at something that seemingly doesn't fit, we can start to understand that what we're being gifted is this capacity to marry two seemingly incongruent elements to one another. Okay? With that, let's look at the players in these YODs. There's one in particular that's happening on the solstice, which finds the moon at 0 degrees of Taurus. The sun passing through the stellar dimension of Betelgeuse at 29 of Gemini into the 0 degree of Cancer, coming in to meet Jupiter that by this time will be at about 2 degrees of Cancer. So the sun is moving towards the newly Cancerian Jupiter energies, right? Benefacting, gifting, and expanding our access to our sense of belonging, to our community and tribal, our family, our relations, to that sense of belonging that exists within our hearts, to that place where we remember that we belong here. Okay? So as Cancer, the sun moves in, and I've talked before about how Cancer is very connected to the marrow of our bones, to that blood that is thicker than water, right? To that really ancient, old DNA, to the very marrow of our being. That incarnation line that we came into being with. Now, we can feel this as Cancer is the ruler of the 4th house, which is the house of belonging. It is where our I see, which I like to translate as inner child, the lowest point of our entire chart for those of us when we look at the natal wheel, right? We have the ACDC and then we have the MCIC. The IC is ruled by Cancer regardless of where your IC falls. For me personally, it's in Capricorn. So I'm playing around with the foundations of belonging, right? We feel things. We ask about our true nature in the 4th house. Cancer, our true nature, what we incarnated into. So here we have the moon at 0 degrees of Taurus, that very material sign. The sun moving into 0 degrees of Cancer, coming into those beginning stages. And over in Scorpio, making the yod, the point, the finger of God, pointing at the destiny, is Hecate, Hecate, the triple goddess, guardian of the crossroads, in the sign of power and occulted knowledge, wisdom, long forgotten, rising to the surface, 0 degrees of Scorpio. So the moon, that more subconscious, unconscious, coming into contact with the material realm that is Taurus. The sun, the outward presentation of our being, coming into the 0 degree of Cancer, the sign that is ruled by the moon, in gifting sextile to one another, pointing at the way that we come into and to the choice that we are being gifted to make about where we go, about what we see, about how we interact, and how we come into our truest state of belonging. That I am. Okay? So that particular sextile is only active on the solstice. There is another sextile that involves Jupiter and the sun that is coming into activation during the solstice, but actually comes into its tightest manifestation when we get to the Cancer new moon on the 25th. This one is the sun and the moon and Jupiter. Jupiter at 3 degrees now of Cancer. The sun and the moon at 4 degrees of Cancer. Very tightly conjunct, bringing that unification and rebirthing energy of the new moon all together, everything, bringing it all together, bringing ourselves, our state of beingness all together. And Mars is the sextile here. Mars on the solstice will be at 2 degrees of Virgo. By the time we get to the Cancer new moon, Mars will be at 4 degrees of Virgo. Exactly sextile to the sun and the moon, quite close to Jupiter. Mars, our sense of drive and purpose, our I am expression, in the sign of wholeness, the sign of the Virgin Priestess. What is the Virgin Priestess? The Virgin Priestess is that being who is unencumbered, who is whole unto self. We find the sun and the moon, the masculine, the feminine, if you will, uniting on the new moon. We have the biggest planet in our solar system conjunct them in the sign of belonging, making an exact sextile now to the planet, to that red planet that has so long been called the god of war, but is truly I am. It is our drive. It is our ambition coming in to wholeness, to embodied light, to remembering that we are souls having human experiences. And they are pointing that divine finger at Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. How amazing, right? We get Scorpio on the solstice involved, right? You get that nice Scorpio energy on the solstice as Hecate says, here are your various paths. Which will you choose? By the time we get to the new moon, the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, the guardian of the underworld, the lord of the underworld, the revealer of secrets, of occulted wisdom, in the sign of the new, moving backwards, inviting us to explore those places that we have hidden from ourselves. And isn't that what a new moon does as well? Bringing rise, birthing something new from that place. Now, while all of this is going on, the sun, Jupiter, and then the sun, the moon, and Jupiter will all also be exactly square. I told you we were coming back to that square. Exactly square Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Aries, the sign ruled by Mars, the sign where we ask, who am I? Saturn and Neptune in this sign, having just come in July, about to move back towards Pisces once again before making their full emergence into this new realm, are inviting us to refound ourselves, to shift from a karmic template to a dharmic template, to imagine, that's Neptune, to imagine a new way forward, to imagine a new structure where we allow the I am of one another full capacity, where we release power over in favor of empowerment. Now, one of the things that I have been feeling very, very loudly, and you may have as well, is that during this cycle, the dream time, which is also ruled by Neptune, is getting very, very, very loud. Now, in every shamanic tradition, in every culture throughout the ages, the dreaming has been a time of prophetic wisdom. The dreaming has been a time of shifting timelines, of moving through the various dimensions. And for many, 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 many of us, this journeying through the dream time is a time for clearing out the cobwebs in our subconscious so that we can navigate into this new with more clarity, following the truer lines of destiny. Speaking of the lines of destiny, during the solstice, the messenger Mercury will be aligned in trine to the north node and in sextile to the south node, helping us to gather the wisdom from the where we have been so that we can move forward into the where we are going more clearly, more purposefully, more easily. One of the aspects of this transiting that we're experiencing these last couple of weeks of June may be the rising of a lot of grief. You may feel like, am I depressed? Am I sad about something, but you can't access what you're sad about? This has been true for me. What is this that I'm feeling in the undercurrent? Our sensitivities are increasing. And as we move through the transients, through all of the shifting currents, the cells, the very makeup of our physicality is changing. And like we grieve at the passing of a loved one, each of these microscopic beings is in a state of grieving what it's leaving behind, even as it's celebrating where it is going. Now, in Japanese, there's a word for this, mono no aware, which is actually the frequency spray that I made for this season. It's the bittersweet, that grief-tinged joy that you experience when you're about to move into a new phase of life. Those of us who have had long-term friendships that needed to shift out, we moved house, or we moved from high school to college. We shifted where we were living. We changed direction, and the people that we were traveling with before were not meant to come to where we're going, or they shifted and we weren't. Anytime that there has been a profound change, even the ones that are super positive, right? Like the one that we're in now, comes with that necessary grieving process of letting go. And in many ways, I believe that this is why the cycle of this particular transformation is coinciding with a Pisces North Node and a Virgo South Node, because Pisces North Node invites us to that mono no aware. It invites us to that bittersweet remembering, to feel all the feels. That's Pisces. Feel all the feels. And as we're in that cycle, we are also feeling all the feels the way Cancer feels all the feels. And as a Cancer, it's a little bit different sometimes than Pisces, right? We can be enamored of the where we're going and grieve the where we're leaving simultaneously. So a lot of this will be happening. We're going to go back to the dreaming. A lot of this will be happening in the dreaming. You may have found yourself having very precognitive, even more so than usual if you've generally tended towards that, dream time journeys. This is because Jupiter is expanding Neptune's capacity for shamanic visioning. Saturn is connecting it to our karmic, dharmic cycles, to time itself. Now there's this knowing about the end of life when people are in hospice care, that you start to become unhooked, unhinged from time. And isn't that so much of what we are all feeling now also? Because the old ways of moving through embodied existence are changing. And we are becoming unhinged from time. I had this vision yesterday as I was walking down the street that I could literally just crouch down and unzip the scene in front of me and walk through into a new realm. And the movement into that new way of being was both profoundly joyful and deeply moving. Feel that movement as the heart, the barriers around the heart slip away in this unhinging, in this unhinging. Mm. As we move through the Cancer new moon, between the solstice and the day of the new moon, Mercury will continue moving and transit now in square to Chiron at 26 of Aries. On the new moon itself, Mercury will be at 28. So in these days between, as we move into the darkening moon, Mercury will leave that trine with the North Node and come into the gifts concealed within our wounds in a square. There's an invitation in this for us to feel all the feels in that way which we feel. It might not look the way that your friend feels, and be okay that your way looks unique to you. During the entirety of this cycle, Uranus is getting ready to move into Gemini. Throughout the entire rest of June, Uranus, the great awakener, the unique expression, individual expression, will be exactly conjunct the great central star of Alcyon, the great central star of the Pleiades. Awakening new ways to interact with our DNA, with our incarnation lines, with our physicality. And how lovely is it that we get to experience that right before the awakening energy of Uranus shifts from the material realm of Taurus into the mental, communicative, expressive realms of Gemini. As far as advice goes, if you are so inclined to writing down your dreams in the morning, and if that is something that your life is conducive to, or perhaps your life is not usually conducive to, but you need to make the space for it, this could be very helpful, especially if the tone and tenor, the amount of interaction and the vividity of your dreams has increased exponentially. Taking that time before you even get out of bed, keep a pen and paper, or you can write it on your phone, whatever's true for you, but make a note of what you've seen, what has occurred, what you have experienced in that dreaming land. Notice deja vus. Don't just shun them. Don't just say, oh, I just had a deja vu. Feel them. If you have that experience of having had an experience already, that deja vu, take a beat, take a pause, take a moment to feel, to breathe into that and experience, bring from your unconscious, subconscious up to your consciousness what the message of that deja vu is for you. Uranus awakening into Gemini. These experiences, especially with that Neptunian starting to move backwards right around the same time in Aries, back towards Pisces, these sorts of glitch in the matrix events are likely to increase multifold. Allow as much space for your emotionality to move through as is possible for you. And also drink lots of water. I'm going to right now. Water helps the energy move through your body. If it's something that you're called to, I like to grid my water. I like to speak to my water. I like to interact with the water that's moving through my body. And that includes the water that I bring into my body. Feel what's true for you. Journaling, meditative walks, dancing, getting into your body, getting into conversations with the microbiome that helps you to digest the food that you take in, to understand what actually serves your body. You might notice that the types of foods that you are craving or that you are able to easily digest is changing. Being in a conversation with those beings, with those elemental beings that digest the food for you, can be very helpful in this, in understanding why I used to love this food and now I can't eat it anymore. Or I used to hate that food, but now it's all I want to eat. Especially if you're noticing that your appetite is changing and you are not able to eat on certain days, or you're just voraciously hungry. Being in that constant conversation can help you understand why. And as we move into this new, as we move through the solstice, the Cancer new moon, towards the Sirius portal, and the Capricorn full moon, those are, they're so big. Actually, the Capricorn moon is literally the biggest moon, or the Capricorn full moon rather, is literally the biggest moon of the entire year, but we will have another update about that, trust me. And July's energy update that I've already posted will help you start to tune into that. But these energies are asking us to understand the elemental nature of this dimensional realm that our physicality is anchored in. It helps us to have a strong foundation as the nesting egg of the third dimension is vibrating at a higher rate and tickling through the fourth dimension and the fifth. Having a strong connection to the where we are moving out of into the where we are going can very, very much help. One of the ways that I'm being invited now to share this with you is that those nesting eggs, so the first dimension, which exists inside the second dimension, which exists inside the third, which exists inside the fourth, which exists inside the fifth, and on and on and on and on and on. As the third dimension starts to vibrate at a higher frequency, so too does the fourth, and so too does the fifth, and it expands out. But it also is those ones within. So everything that exists within that first dimensional realm, that exists within inside the third dimension, is vibrating at a higher rate, as is everything that exists within the second dimension. And the micro beings, those elemental beings that make up our physicality, have a very first and second dimensional resonant frequency, and they are speeding up. They are becoming third and fourth as we are becoming fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right? And it is all the interdimensional communication. We don't lose contact with that which is within us, but our contact with that which is within us is enhanced. And that is part of the dreaming. That is part of the dreaming. Over at Circle, which you are invited to come and explore, our community hub, and the Inner Sanctum as well. The Inner Sanctum, all 3 episodes of the Goddess Sekhmet Journey to Wholeness are now available. Whew, magic. What she brought through for us, really profound and transformative. If it calls, come and check it out. Over in the community hub as well, there is something percolating that I have been feeling. Some Circle live event transmission, I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, that I will be facilitating as we navigate that realm, that plane between the solstice and the Cancer new moon. My understanding at this moment is that it will be a cellular DNA activation and transmission, helping to tune those microbeings. All of that elemental physicality that is our chariot as souls, as light in this realm, bringing it into a space, into a place where we are more able to allow the avalanche, the torrent of light that is coming through, to move into the deepest, most subatomical particles of our beingness. As we journey, as we endeavor ever more and ever more to this truth of embodied stellar light. There will be links below for the Circle community. The community hub is a free and open space for all who resonate to the blue flame to come and really hold one another, witness one another, and activate with one another. The inner sanctum is the space where I share frequency meditations, master classes, workshops. We have all kinds of amazing stuff in there. I also have made available the Sirius portal, the June Solstice ritual kit. This amazing compilation collection of tools to help us in our journey through these July and Augustine months. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you are and all that you do and all that you be. With so much and many loves, as always, in the always, from the all dimensions and beyond the beyond.